Good morning, friends. Myself, Dr. Jayashri Teli. Welcome all of you in virtual video class of English drama. Dear friends, we are discussing on a tragedy of Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark. Dear friends, in last video, I discussed on different characters from Hamlet. Today, I highlight the plot of Hamlet. Act by act, and then summary and other things. So, friends, the protagonist of the Hamlet, who was the Prince of Denmark. Our protagonist of Hamlet is the Prince Hamlet, and he is Prince of Denmark. He is son of a recently dead King Hamlet, who is also known as the senior Hamlet, and nephew of King Claudius. His brother Claudius is his father, King Hamlet's brother, and also successor. Successor means the next king of Denmark. Claudius hastily married King Hamlet's widow, Gertrude. Hamlet's mother, Gertrude is Hamlet's mother. And Claudius married her, and also he became king of Denmark. In first act, there is a discussion on the long-standing feud with Norway. Norway is a neighboring state, and Denmark have a long-standing feud. Feud means quarrel, bhandan, in which King Hamlet slew he killed King Frontibars of Norway. King Frontibars is the king of Norway, and King Hamlet, who died recently, or he killed him before some years in a battlefield. And that's why Norway became Denmark's enemy. And again, Denmark defeated Norway at that battlefield, and the Norwegian throne fell to King Frontibars' infirm brother. Denmark fears that an invasion led by the dead Norwegian king's son, Prince Frontibars, and is eminent. He was an eminent person. He had ability, and that's why Denmark fears that King Frontibars' son, Prince Frontibars, may be possibility of invasion. What happens? Look here. On a cold night, on the rampart of Elsinore. Elsinore is the name of the palace, Danish palace, Danish royal castle it is. Elsinore is the name of the Danish royal castle, or it may be a palace. And on the rampart of this Elsinore, means outside of the palace, two guards, Bernardo and Merciless, discuss a ghost resembling the late King Hamlet, which they have recently seen, and bring Prince Hamlet's friend Horatio as a witness. Means two guards, both of them are called as the sentries or the soldiers, watchmen, guards, Bernardo and Merciless. Both of them discuss on a ghost resembling the late King Hamlet, and as a witness, both of them bring Prince Hamlet's friend Horatio as a witness. After the ghost appears again, the three vow to tell Prince Hamlet what they have witnessed or what they have seen. As the court gathers next day, while the king Claudius and Queen Gertrude discuss different affairs of the state with elderly advisor Polonius. Who was Polonius? We discussed on it. Polonius is the advisor of the king and also he is a Lord Chamberlain. He is known as a Lord Chamberlain. Hamlet looks on very disturbed. He looks gloomy. He looks disturbed. During the court, Claudius grants permission for Polonius' son Laureate's return to school in France and sends envoys to inform the King of Norway about frontiers. And again, Claudius also scolds Hamlet for continuing to his grief or his grief for his father, King Hamlet. He forbids him to return his schooling in Wittenberg. After the court exit, Hamlet despairs of his father's death and his mother's hasty remarriage. Means he is totally become disturbed because of his father's death and his mother's remarriage. When Hamlet learned about the ghost from Horatio, Hamlet resolves to see it himself. He decides to see it himself. Then, next scene, as Polonius' son Laurets prepares to depart for a visit to France, Polonius offers him advice that culminates in the maximum to thine own self be true. Polonius' daughter Ophelia admits her interest in Hamlet. Means Ophelia is Hamlet's beloved. He loves him. Ophelia loves him and she admits it. But Lurid warns her against seeking the prince's attention. And Polonius orders her to reject his advances that night on the rampart. Ghost appears to Hamlet. Here, Hamlet decides to see Ghost himself, and at the same night, he went to the ranch and he see the ghost there. Ghost appears to Hamlet. When Hamlet he see Ghost, Ghost see the Hamlet. He come to Hamlet and telling the prince that he was murdered by his own brother Claudius. And the ghost also demand revenge. Hamlet agrees and the ghost vanished from the sight. The prince confides to Horatio and sentences that from now on he plans to put an antique disposition on and act as though he has gone mad. He decides, Hamlet decides that he should behave as a mad person. He forces to Sweet to keep his plans for revenge secret, and he remains uncertain of the ghost's reliability. Means he was also not confirmed what the ghost says is right or wrong. He is not confirmed. That's why he wanted to confirm the thing that his father was not died but he was murdered by his own uncle Claudius. So he is trying to confirm it, and to confirm it he take the he resolves to behave as a mad person. In second act we see that Ophelia rushes to her father telling that Hamlet arrived at her door the prior night half undressed and behaving erratically. Means he is half undressed. Polonius blames love for Hamlet's madness and resolves to inform Claudius and Gertrude. Here, Polonius blames Hamlet's love and also his madness. He decides to inform the Claudius and Gertrude. And as he enters to do so, the king and queen finishes welcoming Rosencrantz and Gladstone. Gladstone and Rosencrantz, they are the two students, acquaintances of Hamlet, whom Hamlet know very much. To Elsinore, they welcomes or they visit Elsinore, and the royal couple has requested that the students investigate the cause of Hamlet's mood and behavior. Means King Claudius and Queen Gertrude, they are disturbed because of Hamlet, and that's why they call these two students, and they want to know the reason why Hamlet is behaving like this. Additional news requires that Polonius wait to be heard, and the messengers from Norway informed Claudius that the king of Norway had rebuked Prince Prontivas for attempting to refight his father's battle. Means here, King of Norway's Prince Prontivas decides to refight his father's battle, and the forces that Prontivas had conscripted to march against Denmark will instead be sent against Poland, and though they will pass through the Danish territory to get there. Polonius tells Claudius Gertrude his theory regarding Hamlet's behavior and speaks to Hamlet in all of the castle to try and uncover more information. Hamlet begins madness, and he insults Polonius all the while. When Rosencrantz and Gladstone arrive, Hamlet greets his friends very warmly and normally also. And Hamlet admits that he is upset at his situation but refuses to give the true reason to them. Instead of the giving reason, he comments that what a piece of work is mine. Here Hamlet learns that Rosencrantz and Gladstone brought a long troupe of actors that they met while travelling to Elsinore, and Hamlet, after welcoming the actors, he dismissing his friends, turns spices and asks them to deliver a soliloquy about death of King Priam and Queen Hevia at the climax of the Trojan War, and impressed by their delivery of speech, he plots to stage the murder of Gonzago. Here he plots to stage the murder of Gonzago. It's very important for MCQs. You have to note these things. And he prepared for staging a play, The Murder of Gonzago, where he wants to show the death of King Hamlet, and he wanted to confirm the news given by, or the message given by King Hamlet. And a play the death in the style of this father's murder and determine the truth of ghost story. So Claudius' guilt or innocence, may studying Claudius' reaction is that here he decided to stage a play named The Murder of Gonzago, and to learn whether the King Claudius or his uncle Claudius was a guilty person or innocence. Such. Then in Act 3, Polonius forces Ophelia to return Hamlet's love letters and tokens of affection to the prince, while he and Claudius watch return, and at that time Polonius and Claudius watched from afar to evaluate Hamlet's reaction. Hamlet is walking alone in the hall as the king and Polonius await Ophelia's entrance. And there was a music, and when Hamlet is saying to himself, to be or not to be is a question. To be or not to be is a question. This is the worldwide famous quotation. We use it a number of times. So remember that it is from Hamlet, third act. To be or not to be is a question. When Ophelia enters and tries to return Hamlet's things, he accuses her as an immodesty and cries to get thee to a nunnery. Though it is unclear whether this is true, and he just showed the madness or genuine distress. He is doing showing his madness, but really many times he behave as a mad person. We cannot forget it. Shortly after this thing, or after returning the Hamlet's love letters and tokens of affection to him by the Ophelia, there is the arrangement of a play, and where was the Hamlet was commissioned for each. And after seeing the player, king murdered by his rival, pouring poison in his air, Claudius abruptly rises and runs from the room for Hamlet. This is the proof positive of his uncle's guilt, and here he confirms the message given by the ghost of his father or King Hamlet that he was killed with a poison pouring in the air. Means when Claudius seen the scene on the stage, he sees that he become very disturbed, and he runs from the room or the play. And Gertrude summons Hamlet to her chamber and demand an explanation why he was behaving like this. Claudius talks to himself about his impossibility of repenting and his still possession of his ill-gotten goods, his brother's crown and his wife. He sneaks to his knees, and Hamlet on his way to visit his mother and sneaks up but behind him but does not kill him, as reason is that killing Claudius when while he is praying will send him direct to the heaven, and while his father's ghost is stuck in purgatory, and that's why he went directly to Queen's bedchamber, and Hamlet Gertrude fight bitterly. Polonius spying on the conversion from the behind a tapestry. Tapestry means curtain. Polonius is behind the curtain, and Hamlet is in the room of or in the bedroom of the Gertrude. He calls he is there to help Gertrude, and believing Hamlet wants to kill and Hamlet, believing it is a Claudius, stabs wildly and killing Polonius, but he pulls aside and curtain and sees his mistake. He stabs very wildly. He thinks that there is a Claudius, and that's why he stabs. But there is a Polonius, and he is killed. Hamlet very brutally insults his own mother. Her apparent ignorance of Claudius' villainy. He tried to present her Claudius' work, who killed his father. Ghost enters there and reprimands Hamlet for his inaction and harsh words. He stops that. He actually Ghost stops to use harsh words for his wife Gertrude. God is there for punish her. You are the son. Do not punish her. Such are the words are from the ghost, and unable to see or hear the ghost herself. She is very unable, and Gertrude takes Hamlet's conversation with it and eyes further evidence of madness. After begging the queen to stop sleeping with Claudius, he begs his own mother that he is not happy when his mother is sleeping with Claudius and they have relations, physical relations, and that's why he begged to stop all these things. Hamlet leaves, dragging Polonius' crops away. In Act 4, we see that Hamlet jokes with the Claudius about where he has hidden the Polonius body, and the king, fearing for his life, say he sends Rosencrantz and Gladstone to accompany Hamlet to England with a sealed letter, where he gives a letter to English king requesting Hamlet be executed immediately. And here, on other hand, Ophelia become deep in grief of his father's death. Ophelia wanders Elsinore and Lurette arrives back from France. Enraged by his father's death, his sister's madness, means Ophelia has also become mad here. Claudius convinces Lorette that Hamlet is solely responsible. But a letter soon arrives indicating that Hamlet has returned to Denmark. Falling means Claudius' plan failed, totally failed. Claudius switches tactics and proposing a fencing match between Lorette and Hamlet to settle their differences. And Lorette will be given a poison tipped foil. If that fails, Claudius will offer Hamlet poisoned wine as a congratulation, and Gertrude interrupts to report that Ophelia has drowned. Though it is unclear whether it was suicide or an accidental caused by her madness. But here, Ophelia is drowned in river. Gertrude gives the information. There is a proposing the fencing match between Lorette and Hamlet, and Claudius planned to kill him, whether with the poisoning tip foil his foil, or other with when he congratulate with the poison mixed wine. In Act 5th, we see that Horatio has received a letter from Hamlet explaining that the prince escaped by negotiating with the pirates who attempted to attack his England bound ship. And also he says that the friends reunite off stage. Two grave diggers discuss the Ophelia's apparent suicide while digging her grave. And we also know see that in Act 4 Ophelia died within river drawn, but say Hamlet arrives with Horatio and the binders with one of the grave diggers who unearths the skull of the jester. You got skull of jester from Hamlet's childhood Yorick. And Hamlet picks the skull, saying, "Alas, poor York." He contemplates the morality and Ophelia's funeral. Here he took the Ophelia's funeral also. Ophelia is the one being buried, and be revealed himself, proclaiming his love for her here. After buried her, Hamlet proclaims his love for her. And here is the fight between Lurette and Hamlet by the Ophelia's graveside. Back at both of all back at Elsinore, and Hamlet explains to Horatio that he had discovered Claudius' letter with Rosencrantz and Gladstone belongings and replaced it with a forged copy indicating that his former friend should be killed instead. A foppish courtier Osric and interrupts the conversation to deliver the fencing challenge. Means that the letter given by the king Claudius is changed by Hamlet, and that's why he is alive. Then in last act we see that in last act we see that Hamlet does well at first, leading to the march by two hints to none. Gertrude raises a toast to him using the poisoned glass of wine, and Claudius had set aside for Hamlet. Here to look here. It is a tragedy. From start to end, we see number of people died. First, when the boy drama opens, King Hamlet recently died. We visit Ghost. Then we see death of Polonius. Then here death of Ophelia. Went in the depressed and death of it. Then there is the fight between the laureates and Hamlet. Hamlet slashes laureates with his poisoned blade, and he died there. Gertrude, dipped the toast, who raises a toast to the using poisoned a glass of wine to Claudius. It is she is unknowingly do it, and now Lorette when realizes the plot will be revealed, and Lorette slashes Hamlet with his poison blade in the ensuing scuffle and a switch of weapons. Hamlet wounds Lorette with his own poisoned sword. Gertrude collapses, claiming that she has been poisoned and dies. In his dying moments, Lerute reconciles with Hamlet and reveals Claudius' plan. Hamlet rushes to Claudius and kills him. As the poison takes effect, Hamlet, hearing that Frontivar is marching through the area, names the Norwegian prince as his whilst Hamlet does not, says, and he will commit suicide by drinking the dregs of dregs of Gertrude's poisoned wine, but Hamlet begs him to live on and tell his story. Hamlet dies in Horatio's arm, proclaiming the rest is silence. Frontivas was ostensibly marching towards Poland with his army, arrived at the palace along with the English ambassador and brings news of Rosencrantz and Gladstone's death. Horatio promises to recount the full story of what happened, and Frontivas, seeing the entire Danish royal family dead, takes the crown for himself and orders a military funeral to honor Hamlet. Such a means he was a military funeral to honor to the Hamlet by the Norwegian king or the Frontivas. So we learned that from the start to end we facing the death of different people, or they be killed, murdered from the start to end. First is the King Hamlet, then Horatio at that time saying that there is the future is not well. Death of Polonius, death of Ophelia, death of Laureates, death of Claudius, Claudius killed by Hamlet himself, death of Gertrude because of poison, And then there is the death of Rosencrantz and Glaston as the letter was changed by the Hamlet, whereas the Claudius gives letter for King of England to execute Hamlet. But the matter of the letter changed by Hamlet, and that's why there is another message that Rosencrantz and Glaston were dead. And here the Norwegian prince Frontimas is there, and he gave orders a military funeral to honor of Hamlet, and they buried him. And here ends the story Hamlet. Frontibar became the king of Denmark. Next king of Denmark. Okay, thank you very much. I think all of you learn it. If any doubts, please ask, say me or message me in the group.